Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back, everybody. It's been quite a few weeks since you've heard from us.
Yeah.
Schedules have not really, aligned very well. We've both been really busy. Hopefully here soon that's going to be changing to where we can record on a more weekly basis. Yes, it's the off season. A lot of stuff going on. Men's basketball's going on. It's going to be a few months of kind of more slow stuff. We know how this works, but right now there's a lot to get into.
Is the NFL really slowing down at all?
I don't really think it does.
We heard, when we talked last, let's see what's happened. Rodgers signed the richest contract in NFL history at the time.
Yep.
Devontae Adams is traded to the Raiders.
Deshaun Watson is a Brown.
Is a Brown for $230 million, fully guaranteed.
Sorry, I'm too soon.
Russell Wilson's a Bronco.
Yep.
I don't know. Was that legit last time we talked? I can't remember if that was actually in last time we talked.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was either. So Russell
last time
Wilson.
we talked, free agency hadn't even started yet.
Okay, so Russell Wilson's a Bronco.
Excuse me, guys.
Marcus Mariota is Falcon. Matt Ryan is a Colt.
Jameis Winston is re-signing
with the Saints. And Baker Mayfield doesn't have a job.
Yep.
And the Falcons decided to sign Mariota instead of trading for Baker. They only got a third-round pick for Matt Ryan, and it's what did I texted it out? It's like a $40 million dead money cap hit.
It's It's $7 million over the record, and I don't know who the record cap dead money is. Is it Wentz?
I want to say it was Wentz,
because that's why Washington hasn't signed anybody, because they took a $30 million hit with this, signing him. And
so
I'm so phlegmy.
And that's not Allen Robinson to the Rams. Leo Collins went to the Bengals. The Cowboys cut him.
Yep.
Because they couldn't find a trade partner. He went to the Bengals. I'm like Zadarius Smith decided not to sign with the Ravens after
Gregory. Another one.
Yep. Randy Gregory went to the Broncos.
Yep.
But Zadarius Smith saw what Von Miller went to Buffalo for a 6-year contract.
I know a lot of the fans, being a Dallas fan, were so mad about that. I'm not mad about that now that I saw what he got. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
He's got a Super Bowl.
Two Super Bowls.
He's got defensive MVP or two. But is he really worth that at 33 years old? You'll be paying until he's 39?
Here's the thing.
Well, it's only guaranteed 50, so I get it.
So if he gets you to the Super Bowl,
yes,
it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Because that team has the potential.
Yeah.
That team is there. They need more weapons. I think, but they did just, who did they signed a tight end, didn't they?
They did. They signed O.J. Howard.
Okay, so that's a good signing for them, especially if O.J. Howard can come back to what he was and what he should be before that injury.
And they did bring in Shaq Lawson, Tim Settle from D.C., and Daquan Jones from the Panthers.
Yep.
So 3 key defensive players.
Right, and their best cornerback is coming back off that injury.
Yep.
So, and then Juju goes to the Chiefs. Yep. The Chiefs sign...
They have 2 TikTok stars in town now.
Yeah, and it's... and then
Amari Cooper to the Browns. Can't forget about that one.
Yeah, Amari Cooper traded to the Browns.
I'm thinking of another one that I can't think of.
J.C. Jackson went to...
And Khalil Mack to the Chargers.
Chandler Jones to the Raiders.
Yep.
Jones and what is his name? The other guy, Cox? No. Yeah, Cox, the white guy, edge rusher for the Las Vegas. That's going to be a dynamic duo.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I was thinking of the other defensive end that the Raiders just let go. Carl Nassib. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, it's the other kid there. And there hasn't been, like the Dolphins have done a couple minor moves, and Xavier Woods signed somewhere.
I can't remember.
I'm looking at it as the AFC is freaking ridiculously deep.
And you know what's crazy? And I just thought about this before we got on, like how deep in free agency they went. And in a way, they lost in the Super Bowl again. So it's like, this is the move for the AFC. Like, if you guys are stacked, and then you look at the NFC going, you have like 3 good teams. But the problem is, can the AFC get all this talent together? That's the thing, especially the AFC West. You have 4 teams who I consider now replacing the NFC West how they were 2 years ago. Remember how stacked the NFC West was 2 years ago or so?
Yeah.
Now you look at the AFC West, and you know what's sad? Just off the top of your head, breaking it down, you could see many scenarios where the Chiefs finish last.
Yeah, I mean,
In a way.
you can.
Other than Mahomes and Tyreek Hill.
I look at continuity
Of course.
to be huge.
I do too.
And so, when you're the Raiders, now everybody's like, well, he's reuniting with Carr. Okay,
years.
it's been years since they've played together.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but it's a new offense. It's Josh McDaniels. I think they're going to be very good offensively.
Yeah.
Offense really technically wasn't their problem last year.
It wasn't.
Chargers got better defensively. I honestly worry about them offensively.
Yeah, I'm trying
Because you're looking at Mike Williams. They signed to a big deal, and he's not worth it. I'm sorry. He's just not. Eckler is a good player. And then you got the Broncos. How well is that team going to gel?
Yeah.
That team probably on paper, if you wrote everything down on paper, top to bottom, 53 man,
Yeah.
the Broncos are probably the best team in that division. Mm-hmm. But you're looking at it. I think Fant is a huge loss.
Yeah.
Even though you still got Judy, Surtain, and Patrick, you've got Williams at running back. You got a really good offensive line, and that defense is really good. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say that that's not a good team, but is it going to gel year one?
That's the hard part.
I
was saying the other one they brought in was, even though Mike Williams, I think they vastly overpaid for him, they brought in Gerald Everett too. Now, I'm not saying
they just signed him.
They just signed him not that long ago. But like I said, I think a lot of teams, for me, did really well this year versus other years. Does that make sense? Like, normally you see teams sign these big players, but all these teams, and I would probably say 15 to 16 of them, signed people that fit their scheme and filled needs they actually had.
Yeah.
A lot, like I look at the Bengals, I look at the Chargers, I look at the Bills, I look at these teams, I'm like, you literally went out and said, we're going to get these dudes, and you got the people you needed to make a run.
Without wasting their cap.
Does
Does that make sense? So I was talking earlier, and I was listening to Bengals podcast earlier, and I 100% agreed. They're like, we're okay if they don't sign anybody else and they leave the money there.
Yeah.
Because then you have the money for Higgins. Then you have, then the money adds up again, and all of a sudden you have the money for Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
You're not overspending on the big guy. Everybody's pooping on, you just read CBS NFL in saying that they brought in Kappa and Karras. They're not the best. But look at the money they spend on them.
Yeah.
La'el Collins is one of the best right guards in
Right
football,
tackle,
right tackle.
Yep.
And they're saying that was a great signing. My thing is this, is it only 3 years and it's going to cost them $20 million. That to me is a steal. Jonah Williams is still a top 10 left tackle in the league. And you have a rookie playing left guard that his deficiencies are going to be less.
Yeah.
Because of what you've signed.
Yeah, when you balance the line out, it helps everybody else. That's
Hayden Hurst, I like him. I think he's another, CJ Uzama.
Yeah.
I
don't think Hayden Hurst. I think Hayden Hurst is going to be a good safety net, but Hayden Hurst, to me, he has never been proven that he is. If he can be like the 1,000-yard type tight end, I think he'll be the fifth weapon in the offense.
Hey, if he gets 450
that's all that
yards,
matters. That's
4
what I'm
touchdowns,
saying. But if he can get 60, 70
too.
catches, that's the thing. If he can get some catches, he's a huge safety net.
And then the defense, you can draft, and they're going to draft. And so, the Chargers, they signed what they needed. They still have some money, and they can draft. And it's all depending on how these teams draft now. The NFC, I think you said it best. You're looking at 3 teams, and I can't even tell you if the Packers are actually one of those teams anymore. They've lost a lot defensively. They lost their only weapon in Devontae Adams. So if that's up in the air, yes, you have the second best quarterback in the game right now, and if not the best quarterback in the game right now, that matters.
Yeah.
But if he has nobody to throw it to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think what you're going to see in the first few weeks with the AFC is you're going to be like, wow, look at these teams. They made really good moves. And I think the NFC, I think when I looked it up too, I think total NFC teams have like 80-something more picks than the AFC teams. I think the NFC has a lot of picks. So I think what you're going to see is the reset we had 2 years ago, where the AFC was full of young quarterbacks, full of young talent, and now they're rising up. I think you're going to see an NFC flip. And the other thing, too, is I think you're going to get NFC teams that are going to start on they're going to start slow, but I think they're going to train towards the end of the year. We're going to be like, whoa, where did this team come from? Where did this team come from? But I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of teams going, wow, Tampa's really not it.
Yeah.
Green Bay's really not it. Wow, Seattle's really not it.
Even before the draft right now. Okay. So I'm gonna name every team in every division. And you tell me yes or no. Yes or no for
what?
playoffs.
Okay.
Playoff contention.
Okay.
Okay. Yes or no. So Buffalo.
Yes.
Patriots.
Yes.
Miami.
No.
Jets.
No.
Okay. Then you've got Tennessee.
Yes.
Traded for Robert Woods.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a good signing. Mm-hmm. He's going to fit that offense better than Julio will.
Yep.
Colts.
I want to say yes.
Okay.
But I'm quarterback play. I know it's Matt Ryan. I hope that's good, but lack of wide receiver weapon still. It's still. I'm going to go with yes for now.
Okay. Houston.
No.
Jacksonville.
Dark horse, but no.
Okay.
I'm just serious. They signed a lot of key players. Yes. I know they're hard on them. I will say this real fast. The Jaguars were that Madden team where they had all the money, and they said, we want to bring in everybody, $2 million more than any other team will, and hope it works. But they did sign everybody like the Bengals did, the linemen, the defense. They got everybody they needed for Trevor Lawrence, so I hope it helps. Keep going.
All right. Cincinnati.
Yes.
Baltimore.
Yes.
Cleveland.
I'm going to have to say yeah, I'm going to say they're fighting for it. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be fighting, yeah.
Yep. Pittsburgh.
No.
Okay. Chiefs.
Yes.
Raiders.
I'm going to say all four, yes. They're all fighting.
So all four.
So there's only five teams I didn't name.
Yeah, so two in the South.
Yep.
One in the North, and you didn't have Miami. I have Miami fighting for it. I think Miami's going to be there. I think
Miami's going to be an 8-9 type team, 9-8 type team, but somehow still finish 11th. Like that's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying this is my point was you're going to have. I said that there's 11 to 12 teams looking for playoffs in the AFC.
And I think with coaching changes and people they brought in, I could see the Jags getting 7, 8, 9 wins. I really could. I'm not saying they're going to be a Super Bowl team. Don't think I'm saying that, people. But like I think the AFC and almost every team, even the Jets, made solid moves in free agency. If I had to give a grade, the NFC had a D- this in free agency. However, they'll see what the draft does. But free agency, the AFC is killing it right now. Killing it.
Okay, so now we're going to go Dallas.
Yes.
Washington.
No.
New York.
No.
Philly.
Yes.
Okay. Green Bay.
Yes.
Chicago.
No.
Minnesota.
No. Bears.
No. Okay.
And I'm speaking on confidence here.
Yeah.
No.
Tampa.
Yes.
Atlanta.
No.
Panthers.
For some weird reason, yes.
New Orleans.
Man, I like Jameis down there for a second chance. We'll say yes. We'll say fighting. Now, I want to go back because I did kind of go fast through the Commanders. Yes, I could see that happening when I say fighting. I don't see them winning the division. I'll say fighting because I want to add them in there. I don't think they're going to have
contention. So this is playoff contention.
I want to put the Commanders back in there and put the Vikings back in there. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yep. And so we've got Dallas, Commanders, Packers, Vikings,
Eagles.
I
think they'll find a way.
And then you went Tampa.
Yep.
And New Orleans.
Yep.
Okay. So now we're going Rams.
Yeah.
Cardinals.
Sure.
49ers.
Without they have so much talent other than quarterback right now. Even with we'll say yes. Let's do it.
Okay. And Seattle.
No.
Okay. So it was a struggle.
It was way harder. Way harder.
In the NFC. So you're looking at a team in the NFC that will make the playoffs that could have a good record, but aren't good. And in the AFC is going to beat up on each other again.
That's the thing.
Like they're going to beat up on each other. You're going to have teams at 9-8 and 10-7 fighting for that playoff spot. And yet their record isn't going to be as good as what the NFC is. Now, is the top of the AFC better than the top of the NFC?
Is the top of the AFC better than the top of the NFC?
The top teams in your head that you think, like, so say, the division winners from last year, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Tennessee, are they better than, because those 4 teams technically are the favorites to win their division again, correct?
Technically, you would say that.
Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and the Rams.
So AFC is better by far.
Okay. But like you said, beginning of this, the NFC won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the other thing where it's like, I think when it comes to playoff time, what did it come down to in the NFC? It came down to the team that had the most free agent signings, right? Yep. So that's like the situation you deal with. Is I don't really think it matters, but at the end of the day, I said this before we talked about recording today, that I see a huge flip. I see a lot of the NFC drafting these quarterbacks out of the draft. I see a lot more picks. I see the NFC teams going younger. I see Dallas only being a year or 2 from it. I see a lot of these teams starting to prepare like the Bengals did, like the Jets did, like the Jags did. I remember last year, 2 years ago, every rookie quarterback that was drafted was by the AFC.
Yeah.
And it's one of those flips now where you're like, okay, the AFC's loading for a 5 or 6 year run, and then it'll be another flip again.
Yeah. I didn't mention the Lions.
The Lions?
I didn't say the Lions.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that was the last team I didn't mention. So,
no.
So I have a question, and I haven't asked this to anybody.
I will say this real quick before you ask the question.
Yeah.
Finally, Dallas figured out re-signing J-Ron Curse finally. So
okay.
we finally filled our safety position. Yep.
They finally got that deal done?
It is a 2-year, $10 million with a maximum value of 11.
Okay.
So that's deal friendly. Finally, we locked up our safety. I was like, who's going to defend back there? So I will give them a small B- to B+ now. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
So I have a question. I haven't asked this in our group. I haven't asked this to anybody.
Okay.
The Super Bowl's still a sore subject for me.
Yeah.
I
understand.
For anybody that's rooted for a team that's been to the Super Bowl and lost the Super Bowl, it hurts. Especially the way we lost, where you're in contention.
Yeah.
You have a chance and you lose. But if it was the Chiefs or the Bills, is the AFC the Super Bowl champions?
That's a weird question, Mark. That's weird. No. You guys were the best team in the NFC. In the AFC, you guys were the best team.
But
now,
you don't think the Chiefs would have beaten the Rams?
I mean, if you're going to pull my foot, maybe.
Okay.
For me, that's really hard because it kind of goes back to the same thing. Like, if it wasn't for 26 penalties, Dallas would have won against the 49ers. It's one of those, like I joked in the group, it's like, well, like we were giving hell with Deshaun Watson in the group. Like, if Deshaun Watson played for the Cowboys, he'd have 15 Super Bowls, like jokingly. Like, it's hard to go back and do those assumption games when the Bengals were the best team in the league. In my opinion, at that point in the season, you had a best kicker in the league. You flossed the Bills, the Titans, then you flossed the Chiefs, and then you played the Bills, right?
No.
Who was the AFC championship?
The Chiefs.
Who was before?
The Titans.
Oh, because you had the first round bye, right?
No, we had the Raiders.
The Raiders. Sorry, that's what I keep forgetting.
We beat the Raiders, we beat the Titans, and then we beat the Chiefs.
You flossed all 3 of them, and 2 of them being the best 2 teams in the AFC. You were the best team on paper. So to say, would the Chiefs have done better? Maybe. But again, the Rams shut down the passing game for the Bengals. They did what they had to do. So I'm going to say no. I don't think it would have changed the outcome.
All right. And then my next question to you is this. Is the AFC is now being talked about with all the moves that people are making, and they're saying this team, this team, this team, this team, and the Chiefs and this and that. You know who they're not mentioning?
Bengals.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what every single one of them said after the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
If the Bengals get an offensive line, the Bengals are going to be back to the Super Bowl or should be, they'll be in contention to make the AFC Championship game and go to the Super Bowl. Now, because of all the moves in the AFC, it's sort of like we're being disrespected again. And I mean, I don't understand it. Our defense is young and solid, and we're also getting a lot of players back from injury that we didn't have. Yes, do we need cornerback help? Yes, but we didn't give up 500 yards throwing, and
you can get a solid cornerback with your first pick.
And
so you don't have to get a lineman now.
I look at it and like I said it yesterday, and it's funny because not a single one of you responded. But if I was a Dallas fan or I was a Washington fan,
Yeah.
more people would talk to me. None of you guys, like
I must not have gotten that message.
3 years in a row, okay? 3 years ago, they were awful, but they drafted Burrow. They brought in DJ Reader, and they brought in Hendrickson. No, Hendrickson was last year.
He was the next year.
And then the next year, they, brought in Hendrickson. They brought in more free agents. They were one of the better teams drafting. Like, if you look at it, they have a lot of homegrown talent.
They've done a good job.
And then this year they go to the Super Bowl, and now this offseason, I've never in my life seen this team do this.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is saying a lot. This team has always drafted. They've always drafted well, but they've never brought in people to build a team.
It sounds like my team. Never signed for agents.
This team, this organization, top to bottom, is thinking differently than it ever has, and is building a team differently than they ever have.
Smell success, things change.
But we did smell but in '89,
like 30 years ago,
they didn't do it, and they didn't build on it.
Yeah.
Where this year they could have easily. We're not going to spend the money. We're not one of those organizations.
Very could have.
We can't spend the money. We're not a Cowboys. Like this money's going to, this or that. Instead, they went out and they addressed what they needed most, and they didn't go after the, Scherf. Who did he deserve the money? Okay, you can say that. Is he excellent, and would he have upgraded our team?
Yeah.
Yes, but would we have paid too much money for him?
Yeah.
Yes. Am I happy that he signed that contract?
Yeah.
Hey, good for you.
Yeah.
The Armstrong guy from New Orleans wants way too much money.
Yeah.
And he's old, and he has injury history.
Yeah. Yep.
The three guys that they signed them to very good contracts. All three of them 3-year contracts. $20 million and under for all three of them, and they're all what Pollock said is glass eaters. They are just dirty, and I mean dirty in a good way. They want to hit people. They want to, but they don't want their quarterback to get hit. They want Mixon to have holes, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of happy. I'm excited for this season. I'm excited for the draft. I'm excited for this season, but at the same time, I'm angry because this should be our time where we're being talked about.
You don't want to be talked about.
But nobody's talking. And
as a Dallas fan, I can concur with this. You don't want to be talked about because what happens is everything you do is under a microscope. So this is the problem. The way Burrow's been for 2 years, this is just me. I'm going to sit back, armchair guy here. The way Burrow has been and acted in the last 2 years, if he played for Dallas, he'd be the worst person in the league. If he played for the Rams, he'd be a jerk, an arrogant cocksucker. I'm just, sorry, guys, I'm being honest. If he played for the Jets or the Giants, he's a cocky bastard. Because he's in the Bengals for 1,000 fans, it's no big deal. So, and I mean that nicely.
We have a lot more than 1,000 fans.
Part 2 to this is why you're not getting talked about. It's Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It's not and I mean this nicely. They're great. They're AFC championships. You're wearing the shirt, right? But the thing you have to understand is when it comes to ESPN or any sort of shows that we watch, they're catering towards their markets. And they don't have a hotbed in Cincinnati or Cleveland. They have a hotbed in New York. That's why they still talk about the freaking Giants every day, all day long. And they've made not one move pretty much. Still talking about them. What is Saquon going to do? Well, how about you talk about what the Bengals have done or talk about what the Bills have done? But no, it's not a hot market. They're going to talk about the Dolphins all day long. They're going to talk about Baltimore and Pittsburgh, Dallas, non-stop. So what I'm getting to before you answer is you don't always want to be talked about because if you are the most popular team and Joe Burrow says, I'm Joe Cool, they're going to be like, dude, you're a poser. They're going to start calling him names and people are like, well, Joe Burrow's a nice guy. And that's why I tell people I make the joke in the group and I mean it so nicely. I love my quarterback for my team. He's not an elite quarterback, but if he played in any other team, he'd be a saint. They would revere him for how nice he is, but because of the star on his helmet, everything changes. And that's the same with a lot of teams. Because of the logo, things change. And I mean this, be happy the Bengals aren't talked about. Be a sleeper. And pop up out of nowhere and people go, why didn't we talk about the Bengals all year? Pop up and kick them in the throat and get that real trophy next year.
Yeah.
I hate being talked about every second of every day. I'm in 4 or 5 Dallas groups, and people are just waiting to break the news. Oh, we had a sniff of Bobby Wagner. He's going to be the next great Dallas. But nothing ever happens.
Yeah,
it's nonstop all day long.
Now, do you really think they're bringing in anybody else?
Yes. I think they're waiting.
Okay.
I don't know who, but I still don't think they're done. This is my thing. Dallas doesn't sign a lot of free agents. We've always known this. I know that. They love their guys. In the 4 people they let go and trade, and I told this to Mark while we were eating dinner, is that they let go of 50% of their penalties in Cooper, in Collins, in Gregory, and in Williams. Those 4 of them were 50% of the penalties last year. So clearly their point was, if you aren't following the false start and holding rules, you're gone, right? But here's my thing. Who are you getting to replace them? Oh, we're bringing in Dorrance Armstrong, the backup to Gregory, because he was better. Okay, we're going to keep Terrence Steele, who was Collins' backup, who in the games that Collins played versus Terrence Steele played, Terrence Steele outperformed him. Okay, that's fine. The point is do you want to win? Do you see what everybody else is doing? We have 33, as of an hour ago, million in cap space. We're first in the league in cap space. What's Bobby Wagner doing? They're like, well, he might be too much. Too much. You have enough money right now to give Bobby Wagner 30, Tyrann Mathieu 8, and another player more money if you want to. You could bring them all in and solve all your problems if you wanted to, because you think you're one of the 5 best teams in the NFC, but they're sitting there going, well, we got 87 draft picks. We'll be all right. If you're win now, you do what the Rams did. You have 2 years left on Dak's contract. You have 2 left on Zeke's. You do it now. You spend the money, and if it doesn't work, you rebuild in 2 years like the Eagles just did. I'm sorry. I mean, am I being wrong when saying you have $30 million, you're going to do nothing with it? Yeah. It's so aggravating. Like, I don't care who you have to sign. If Bobby Wagner wants $20 million a year for 3 years, do it. Guarantee the whole thing. He played with your coach for 3 years. I don't know why the connection's not there. Even Dan Quinn says, I'd love to have him. And Bobby Wagner says on Twitter, I'd love to play in Dallas. What's happening? It's been a week since that tweet came out from both parties. Nothing. The problem is the Joneses every time.
Well, what if it's just, okay, you want this money?
Yeah.
Who's going to give it to you?
That's the thing. And no one's offered Bobby Wagner that money yet.
So maybe they're playing poker.
Maybe they're just waiting.
You know, and they lost the, I mean, they've notoriously done this.
They've lost this many a times.
You know, yeah, they've lost many a times, but they've won many times too.
My assumption is maybe they're going to wait and say Bobby Wagner 1 year, $10 million.
You know, but you said something to, you know, that the Cowboys are notoriously horrible. Like, Jerry falls in love with players.
He does.
Jerry falls in love with players, and he overpays them. The Zeke contract is an awful contract.
It was the worst in the league. I even didn't like it when it happened.
You know, Dak's contract, you look at Dak's contract now, it
wasn't ridiculous.
It wasn't not awful, but Cooper's contract was an awful
$20 million a year for a barely top 15 wide receiver.
And I'll even say, like Matt Ryan, we said earlier, you know, what the fuck Falcons signed him to after the MVP season that he had in the Super Bowl appearance, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're eating $40 million in dead money, and your team is not good. Like, really, I mean, he's not playing.
I tell people we're only 20 months away from Dak signing his first contract, that big one. And he's already almost paid off, and he's now 5th out of quarterbacks paid. That's how fast time goes by.
Right.
Where it's ridiculous for a minute, and then you're like, oh, Deshaun Watson got all that money. What Deshaun Watson's getting paid isn't ridiculous. Right. It said he's getting $230 million guaranteed. That's what's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And the thing is that ruins
the market,
the quarterback market. Like
that's Burrow money. That's elite quarterback money. Sorry,
I don't even want Burrow to make that money,
but he deserves it because he got you. Sorry, he got you. But if he gets you a Super Bowl, would you pay him that? That's what Mahomes got. That's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing. I'm notoriously the person that says every year do not pay your quarterback the top money, because then you won't have a team to have around him. If you can structure the contract. Yeah. Like Kansas City structured Mahomes' contract, where you can still bring in people year in and year out and re-sign people year in and year out. Yes. Sign him to it. He deserves it.
This is something else I think is interesting. Is Zeke's contract was too much, okay? And Dak's contract was too much. Last year going into free agency, Dallas was $40 million over the cap. Because of them two restructuring, they were dead even. That didn't include Lawrence and Cooper at the time, right? This year they were $33 million over the cap. Because of Dak, Cooper, and all of them somehow maneuvering their contracts, they went 30 over. So people like, well, Dak's making $40 million. I don't know what he made this year because they just went from 40 over to 40 under because of 2 players restructuring. So it's one of those things where
I'll never say you can never. So I will say it. Yes, quarterbacks will hurt you.
Yes, they will.
But again, that's the market.
Yeah.
The contract that boggles my mind still for the Cowboys is the Zeke contract.
Yeah.
I don't know why you paid him so much money. You don't pay running backs that much money. You don't sign them to that long of a deal for that type of, and
we're handicapped because of it. And personally for me,
he's untradeable.
He's untradeable, one, and by the time the contract's over, he's still not tradable. Now, at the end of the season, there's an out, and it's called $0. I mean, the guaranteed money's over. It was, 5 years? I want to say it was like 5 years, $70 million or something, like $18 million a year, but it was only 30-something guaranteed. So if you do a running back deal, let's say Derrick Henry gets a 5-year extension. You give him a 5-year deal worth $18 million a year, $20 million a year, but you only guarantee 40 of it. So after year 2, he's done. You can keep paying him, but your cap is 0, right? That's how we were able to cut La'el Collins and owe nothing and make money out of it because our dead space was gone. So that's kind of my thing with like Dallas. I'm like, it was a stupid contract because they thought if they didn't pay Zeke, every team was going to go nuts for him. And I'm going to sit here and still say that Zeke is still profitable in some way if Dallas would listen and just change their offense back to how they did with Murray and Zeke. Run the ball first. I mean this. I love my quarterback, but he's not a pass-first quarterback. And neither is Russell Wilson in a way. When Russell Wilson and them ran the ball primarily in a passing, what do we call this? A play-action type offense. Run, and then fake the run and then throw it 10 yards. When Dak was only averaging 210 yards a game and a touchdown, they were literally balling out and owning time of possession. But Kellen Moore comes in, who I thought was going to be great, 400 yards a game, and we lose in the first round. It's almost like you have Zeke and Pollard. Why aren't they carrying the offense?
Yeah.
If you want Zeke to be reputable and his contract's up this year, run him through the dirt this year, and someone might actually trade for him. But my point is going back to what you were saying, contracts for quarterbacks are ridiculous. Dak's was ridiculous. $40 million, ridiculous. But at the same time, you look at it and you're going, is it worth it for quarterbacks, especially someone like Burrow? Burrow, for example, let's say you guys win the Super Bowl this year. I'm going to use the example for Big Ben, which he didn't probably get paid a lot at the time of this first contract, but Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, all these people. People are like, man, the Joe Flacco contract was the worst contract in history. Do you know how much revenue the Super Bowl brought in? More than his contract was worth. That's the thing. So Kansas City, people are like, oh, Kansas City overpaid Mahomes. I bet that Super Bowl brought in billions in revenue, and his contract is nothing. But what happens is when you pay these players before you host the trophy. That's the thing. Burrow, you want to pay him $330 million guaranteed? No big deal. Just get that ship first. That's all you have to do is hold that trophy up.
Yeah.
The revenues, everything from it is huge.
Yes, and I will agree with that. But I will say this, like the Mahomes contract,
it's really not.
When you hear the number, you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. Like the reason why the Deshaun Watson contract is so
is the word
over
guaranteed.
The top is every penny of it is guaranteed.
It's the word guaranteed.
So no matter what this man is getting paid, and Austin even said, well, what if he gets hurt and can't play football ever again? I go, he gets $230 million. Yep.
I think there's something with his first year, though, about suspensions in it.
Well, he gets it. This is his least. This is the least amount of money.
Yeah.
His first year is the least amount of money he'll get from the contract.
Yep.
But that contract, not only have you hamstrung them
Yeah.
to get free agents, you also took all their draft picks.
Yeah.
Now, yes, you're young.
And you have 2 good running backs, and now you have a wide receiver who can play 13 games a year. Great.
But I'm just like, okay, it's your division is really tough.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Pittsburgh was a playoff team last year. Mm-hmm. Okay, should they have been? People say yes, no, doesn't matter. They were a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
They didn't get worse at quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky is not going to be worse than Big Ben last year. And you have to understand what I'm saying. Big Ben the last 2 years
is not the same Big Ben we remember.
You're going to you might get better QB play out of Trubisky than you did out of Big Ben, which only helps Najee Harris out. Which
you
only
have
helps,
a defense.
Which only helps that offensive line out too.
Yeah.
And so Pittsburgh, I think made a good deal bringing him in.
Yeah.
And you're saying, okay, well, what do you got?
Yeah.
Because if you got a little something, we'll sign you to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
That's not going to break the bank.
Yeah.
If you don't, we'll go to the draft.
And that's one of the things where, and I know I'd love to hear them, I'd love to get one of them on, is what the whole Carson Wentz deal was about. And we haven't talked about it since it happened. I don't think we did.
We did because we said they panicked.
Oh, yeah. So what I mean by that is all the moves that have happened since. They panicked, right? But then you look at it is if they didn't get Carson Wentz, right? Trubisky, Jameis, any of those quarterbacks.
So let's go down the line.
Yeah.
And we're not a fan of Washington, but we know football.
Yeah.
So you say yes, I'll say yes. You say no, I say no when I mention the quarterback's name.
Okay. Are we taking Carson Wentz out of the equation?
No, Carson Wentz is the quarterback. Okay.
Yeah.
So these quarterbacks I mentioned you would take him over Carson Wentz.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield.
No.
Marcus Mariota.
No.
Jameis Winston.
Yes.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'll say maybe on that one. I won't say yes.
I think him and Terry McLaurin would be dirty.
Okay. There's Matt Ryan.
I'm looking at money numbers too for a lot of this. So if they're equal in cap, I'd probably say yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
I say no to Ryan.
Yeah. I think Wentz is younger, but you look at the cap hit, they're both the same. I'm looking at cheaper than Wentz was too. That's why I mentioned those guys. But keep going.
And then I'm trying to think of who else is out there that hasn't been signed yet.
Trubisky wasn't signed when this was made.
So Trubisky.
No. Probably not.
Okay.
But if they were if I knew they were going, my opinion of Trubisky is negative. It really is, and it's not fair to him. It's not his fault. It's me being an uneducated fan. I think he'll be fine, but I think if they would have went with Trubisky and found a way to draft a quarterback, I think that would have been fine. But they didn't, right? So
Jimmy G.
Yeah, I think they'd be better off with Jimmy G. Personally, and I'm not a Jimmy G fan. I'll tell you that, but I think they'd be better off.
So would you have they sent a third round pick for Wentz? Mm-hmm. Is that what they sent?
I think it was a third round pick, yeah.
Okay, would you send a second round pick for Jimmy G instead of a third round pick for Carson Wentz?
I would have if I was Washington.
Okay.
And it would have been cheaper still.
Yeah.
Jimmy G's contract is like $30 million less guaranteed.
And so that's where I'm at because those are technically the quarter. So Mariota and Winston just signed today. Yep. Matt Ryan was traded. So those three are out of the equation, but they were in the equation when
I think everybody but Rodgers and Russell. I think everybody else was on the market still.
Yes.
So everybody was on the market.
And you didn't hear Baker's name because Deshaun Watson actually wasn't out of, I'm doing air quotes here, people, trouble.
Yeah.
Where there's no criminal trial case. There's still the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Civil
cases.
So be a lot of lawsuits and stuff.
It's... So I'm looking at it as soon as he came free of criminal charges, there was 8 teams calling saying this is what we will offer you, and they had offers on the table, and they said no to 3 of them, and then they told Deshaun these are the teams that you can go to. Browns were out of the running, and it was between Atlanta and New Orleans. All of a sudden, the Browns decided, hey, you know what? We don't want to deal with Baker anymore.
Yeah.
We'll give you all the money you want, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, 100%.
And Deshaun Watson did not give a shit.
No.
And excuse the term. I know we're saying excuse the language because we're trying to have, we're having some people from our church start to listen and everything, and we don't want them to think, badly of us.
Yeah.
Not that swearing is 100% awful, but still.
Yeah, we just get really passionate about this. Like,
yes,
you guys don't understand.
I can't
no
believe
one's in
both
here.
of them are Eagles fans.
Yeah, I know.
I can't believe Sam and Joe, right, are Eagles fans.
Yeah, that's sad. I feel bad for them.
But it's just interesting to me because the league is so everybody is just so transfixed with what the AFC is doing, and it doesn't. And I will say this, I am too. I'm not going to lie. What the AFC West is doing is sort of like the stupid joke of, oh, you did this? Hold my beer.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like the Raiders sort of said, oh, okay, you signed them, Chargers? Okay, hold my beer. We're trading for the best wide receiver in football. We're also bringing in one of the best edge rushers to play right now in the game. Oh, okay. And then, who was it? who's the other? So yeah, we'll bring in Russell Wilson. Oh yeah, we're gonna bring in Randy Gregory. Oh yeah, and we still have a dirty defense and 3 great wide receivers, and you know, it's sort of like you have all that, and then you have other teams in the AFC. The Browns are saying, all right, well, not only do we have to contend with the Bengals, but we have to contend with those 4 teams down there, the Titans, the Bills, who had arguably the best offseason right now.
And who knows what the quiet Patriots are doing.
Bill Belichick had the best. This is why I love Bill Belichick. Let me get to Bill Belichick in a second. Okay, I almost had to say because I forgot I wanted to mention this.
He's having a stroke right now, guys.
But and then all of a sudden the Bengals said, "Okay, all you guys are doing that. Okay, what was our one weakness? All right, hold my beer. Here's 3 upgrades. You know, and okay, and then it's like the Browns. Okay, you know what? We have a great team, but we don't have a quarterback. We don't have a wide receiver. Okay, we'll trade a 5th-round pick for Amari Cooper, and we'll trade our future for Deshaun Watson. But we just got better. You know, and I'm like, okay. And then Pittsburgh, you know, is doing their signings, and then the Bills are still doing theirs. Miami's quiet, but I think Miami really feels
and they only brought in like 17 running backs, it seems.
Right. You know, and then like you mentioned the Patriots. Bill Belichick literally said that because New England media is something different. Like if you've never lived in Boston or Massachusetts, that media is different. New England media is different, okay? They are a bunch of it's a hard word, it's a hard place to be, okay? Because if you think any radio or any media is tough, go to New England. I'm serious because you have the Red Sox who are perennial champions lately, Patriots who go to the Super Bowl 20 times and they win 10 of them. And, you know, that's an exaggeration, but they won, 7 of them? Something like that. Yeah. And it's not good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good. Like, the Patriots are all of a sudden the worst team in the NFL, according to the New England media. And they sit there and they ask Bill Belichick, well, why aren't you signing these players? He's like, well, I told him, go see what you can get. If you don't get what you want and you want to come win, come back. Like, that is the most, people hate Bill Belichick, but me, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're literally telling a player, listen, you want to see what's out there? Go ahead. Yeah. You want to sign for more money somewhere else? That's great. If you don't get the money you want, this is what we're offering you, and this is what you're going to get. Playoffs, Super Bowl contention, this is what we're building. Have a good day. They're not taking them to steak dinners like the Bengals did.
And see, part of me likes what Bill Belichick's doing, and part of me, being this, closet fan here, hopes that that's exactly what my team is doing, right? So Bobby Wagner comes in, Zadarius Smith comes in, Von Miller came in, right? And we're going, this is what we're offering you. Go find it somewhere else. And Von Miller says, hey, Dallas, the Bills paid me this crazy money, and the first thing Dallas does is go, they're high. I almost hope that's what's happening with Wagner. They're like, okay, this is what we'll give you. We have this, we have that. And they're just like, Bobby will call. And then we'll find out Bobby signs like $80 million in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, damn it.
And I guarantee you, they just signed Trent Brown to a 2-year deal. And they said to him, go see what you can get.
Yeah.
They're like, this is what we're offering you. And this is what that what we have. You've been here. And he came and he signed a 2-year deal with the Patriots.
Yep.
And
a good deal for him too, by the way.
Yeah, and the Patriots were in on Leo Collins.
Yep.
The Bengals didn't let him leave to go to Miami.
Yeah.
They said no. They said, wait a second. Yeah. Hold on. And Burrow calls him up and said, hey, I'm having a big dinner with my fiance, Kappa and his wife, and Karras and his wife. They're all coming over. Come on, bring your girl, let's have a dinner. And they had a steak dinner catered, and everybody's sitting there joking around, having fun. He doesn't leave that night. The next morning, Burrow texts him, are you signed yet? With a question mark. And he said, your bodyguard is in. He goes, I'm your new bodyguard. Yep. Nobody's touching you. For me, that is yes, the Bengals need to do that.
Yeah.
But I would love for our head coach and GM be like, you know what? We're going to win with or without you.
Yeah.
If you want to win, come here, and this is what we're going to offer you.
This is why I think is the Achilles heel to that is I'm a Dallas fan. I think they do this every year in free agency and continue to get flossed every year. They're like, well, we're the Cowboys, so you get to wear the star. And they're like, Von Miller's like, well, wearing the star means I'm going to get ridiculed. If I trip, I'm going to be called the worst player in the league. If I commit a penalty, Dallas has criminals, right? Not like Houston or anything. But, the point is... Not anymore, right? It's Cleveland. Perfect place for him. But the point is, like, you almost think that's what you want your coach to do. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Let's say your coach tells a player, like Bobby Wagner comes in. You have $30 million in cap space. If Bobby Wagner walked in the door and wanted to play for the Bengals, would you sign him for $20 million right now? Be no reason not to, right? So, but let's say you looked at him.
No. For the Bengals?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, no.
Okay, but I'm going to use an example. He comes in and says, you can go find it anywhere else, or you can win with us. His first word is, you made it, but you lost, right?
Yeah.
Or the same thing with Belichick. Brady's not there anymore. You haven't done anything since. You had 2 years with Cam. Same thing with Dallas. Like, I feel like Dallas does that pitch like Jerry has his yacht in the backyard going, I got a yacht. He's like, y'all ain't nothing. Like, that's my first thing is, like, I feel like Jerry slides this little $100 bill on top of a contract. Was like, it's a little less than other teams, but get to play at the Star.
Yeah.
And Bobby Wagner's like, what the hell does that mean? Like, that's
But I think, like, a long time ago, that worked.
I think it did too, 100%.
And for Cincinnati, I'm all for anybody and everybody calling you up and saying, hey, man, this is the culture. This is what we're doing. And, it's funny because in the beginning, like Hendrickson, he played to the coach played to the Ohio State. You went to Ohio State. You're from Ohio. Come and bring pride to Ohio.
Yep.
And he bought into it. The thing is like players like that we never could have sniffed a Leo Collins.
No.
We never could have sniffed Hendrickson or a DJ Reader or, even a Kappa or a Karras.
Yeah.
We never could have sniffed those guys. Yeah. And for me to even be able to say that we're playing around with signing Gilmore.
Yeah.
I've never been able to say that. And I'm like, listen, all the defensive players better be taking him out. Like telling him what the culture's like, telling him what the locker room's like, telling him what the defense they could do with him there. Like, I'm all for that. But I'm also so, like, in love with the arrogance. Like you said, anywhere else, Burrow's an asshole.
Oh, for sure.
Like, and not that he is. I'm sure he's a really nice, but
I'm sure he's a great guy.
What he's got is
BDE. He's got BDE.
Oh, yeah. I'm happy we won our first playoff game in 30 years, but this is the expectation. Like, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
This is what we expect.
Yeah.
Like, for me, that's the attitude that is needed out of any player on your team. And it's not you're excited that you celebrated, you had your cigar, you had this, you had that, but everybody that said it was this is what's expected.
Yeah.
And that's what Belichick does. Everybody hates Belichick because he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
He's Eeyore.
Yeah.
Without the mental issues. And I mean that like, we could have played better. Next. Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't have thrown that pass.
I'm trying to think of who does that after every game.
He fumbled. Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati.
Was this Bob Huggins?
No, this is Bill Belichick. Like, you're just sitting there and like,
funny.
And like you
Next
want,
question.
It's like, what did you think about that penalty on, 3rd and 10? Was that a game breaker?
It was a penalty.
No, there was 5 minutes left. We had plenty of time.
You should be.
And then
really
he just
funny.
sits there and there's such that awkward silence. And in this day and age, all you want is like the coach to be like, hey, you know, and it's for me, it's just hilarious. It's just absolutely hilarious. But it's like last year they spent all that money. They got back to the playoffs. The team's still good, but they don't have their defensive leader in Hightower. They lost J.C. Jackson. It's like
could still lose Gilmore.
Yeah, well, Gilmore wasn't even there. Gilmore was a Panther.
Oh, he was a Panther last year, wasn't he? Sorry. See, that's how far behind I am on some things.
Yeah, and so it's like there's so many still big names out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and a lot of the players that are out there are older players that I don't think are going to cost you a lot of money, but these players are holding out to see what they can get.
Exactly. Jamison Crowder to the Bills, 1-year deal. Jets wide receiver.
He's going to eat
$4 million.
He's so much better than Cole
so
Beasley.
Underrated. I know.
And he plays that Cole Beasley position. Oh, that's so big for them.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I just hit the table.
I'm not defending Cole Beasley because he's kind of a butthole. I'm not gonna lie. He was kind of trash Dallas. I'll explain in a minute. But he did say, like, I like Jamison Crowder. He's really talented. But Cole Beasley did have 200 catches in 2.5 years, last 2 years. He has a lot of catches, man.
Yes.
So
disappeared last year,
right? I think a lot of it had to do with his status of his vaccination choices. He did miss a couple games for that, you know, because you had to sit out like 10 days or something crazy. The funniest part was, I want to say this funny Cole Beasley thing because I used to follow him on Twitter, and he posted the day he signed to the Bengals. To the Bills, his first tweet was, "Yeah, I really like it over here. They got great practice facilities." And then somebody posted a picture of the Bills' practice facility, and it's in like, it almost looks like the dome for Syracuse. It almost looks like 4 metal poles and a tarp in the snow. And Dallas has like a $7 billion organization. And I was like, every fan was like, "You playing, right? Like, you guys have like porter potties for the bathroom for the Bills." But no, the Cole Beasley, but still, Jamison. I wanted to pull that up. Jamison Crowder is.
That's a good signing there, and it's the
I'm pulling up the top NFL people left.
Yeah, you're gonna find like there's not really that many young players left.
No,
but it's still some big names out there.
Yep.
And
so we'll go down the list.
Okay.
Hold up. Keep going. Oh, why is it doing this? I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong page.
Sorry. Rookies. We need to hire somebody that can do this.
Okay, listen. You mind your business. So we have Leonard Fournette for running back. It's going through positions.
He's visiting the Patriots.
I know, isn't that weird?
Why would you you don't need him?
No. Wide receiver still Odell. Rob Gronkowski's out there. J.C. Treader is still a free agent. Teron Armstead is still a free agent. I mean, he's 30, though, right?
30 and coming off injuries.
Yep. Tyrann Mathieu is still a free agent. Stephon Gilmore, Bobby Wagner, Zadarius Smith, Akeem Hicks. Those are all the ones I just pulled from that page that are all top free agents.
Yeah, those are big names right there.
Yeah, they are.
And those can, I will say this, the Honey Badger would be a difference maker. Zadarius Smith healthy is a difference maker.
Yep.
But obviously, Zadarius Smith didn't realize what the market was.
Yep.
And as soon as he saw, a couple defensive players signed, he backed out of that Ravens contract. He was like, "I'm going to be vastly underpaid."
Way more. Clowney is still out there. Trey Flowers and Julio still out there.
Yeah, I'm not So here's the thing: Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take a flyer on him?
Before we signed Williams. Before we signed Washington, I would have if I was Dallas.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, I look at Julio like I look at now, which it could be a mistake because they're the same age. They came out in the same draft, actually. But I look at Julio like I look at A.J. Green.
Mm-hmm. 1
to 2, 3 maybe good games in a season. The rest are just going to be disappeared.
Yeah, and I think for Julio, if he's in a situation where you have an offense that can utilize him the proper way, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Titans couldn't utilize him, but we all know the Titans are a run-first team. We know this. They're the 60% type. But I'm saying, if you had an offense, if there was room for him in a Bengals, if they didn't have 3 top wide receivers, or if he wanted to prove it 1-year deal in, let's just say, the Rams, or let's just say someone like Dallas, I think really as a wide receiver 3, he could flourish. And I'm not saying 1,000 yards, but I think if he needed another opportunity, he is older, but I think some people would rather take a flyer on him over Odell Beckham Jr. Maybe I'm wrong. Odell did prove something last year.
He did prove something with the Rams.
Yeah.
And the Rams proved that they're probably going to be bringing him back.
Yep. And like I said, there's a lot of people. There's still a lot of people out there. You have a lot of offensive linemen still out there. Like I said, Leonard Fournette's only 27 years old. Melvin Ingram, the edge rusher, still out there. Dwayne Brown, he's 37. But like I said, I'm trying to see who else is pulling up. Really nobody big now. We're Riley Reif, older.
Yeah,
Will Fuller.
Well, here's the thing. Like, Spain is going to probably
Yep.
be on that list. He's
Yep.
probably not in there.
Yep.
But the Bengals have reached out to Reef in Spain
Yeah.
and said, if you take a
Yeah.
veteran minimum,
Yeah.
we'll let you. You'll start at left guard,
Yep.
but you need to play left guard. And
Javon Curse, he's off the list. He was just signed. T.Y. Hilton's still out there.
again, like
older.
what's he going to give you?
That's the thing. Landon Collins. I'm just going through the top 50 here.
Landon Collins would be interesting.
I think so,
don't
too.
mind. How old is he?
Landon Collins is 28.
So he would be somebody that I would love to bring in. He's solid.
Yep. Ronald Jones is only 25, still a free agent.
You know who's visiting the Patriots again? And I wish the Bengals would reach out to him.
Who's
is
that?
Malcolm Butler.
Malcolm Butler, yep. Quentin Spain is actually ranked as the 47th
Really?
best free agent right now.
So-
So they're just, like I said, going through the list, there's a lot of, Xavier Rhodes is still there. He's 32 now. The Patrick Peterson, 32 as well. Carlos Dunlap. I know Pierre-Paul was visiting Dallas yesterday. Not that that matters, just more depth, anything. Jamison Crowder's off the list, and he's only 28. Sammy Watkins, only 28.
I don't sign Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is what he is.
He is what he is.
Shout out to my boy Matt Booth that coached him in high
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
and everything and trained him and everything. But ever since he left high school, he hasn't been healthy.
Yeah.
So that boy, he doesn't give you a full season.
Yeah.
Now my question is this: if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you just got gypped
Yeah.
out of Zadarius Smith. Your offensive line is horrid. Is Bozeman still on there? The center?
I have no idea.
I don't think he's signed yet.
Bozeman. I'll find out.
I don't think he's signed yet, and he's one of the better centers. But you're coming back, and you're resting your laurels on everybody coming back from injury. But if your offensive line is still trash,
He signed with the Panthers.
did he sign with the Panthers?
Yeah, same with the Panthers. Yep.
Okay. Your offensive line is trash.
Yeah.
Your wide receivers are trash.
Yeah.
Your tight end is good. Your
They brought in a
quarterback,
good fullback,
yeah,
and you're getting your running backs back.
you're getting your running backs back. But if you don't have an offensive line, what good are your running backs?
That's the same thing I've been saying about Pittsburgh.
you know,
Good
and
is your running back if you have no
you know,
line.
your defense. Marcus Peters isn't signed.
No.
You
They
just
did sign a couple big names. What was the two guys?
Moses was the offensive lineman from Washington.
Yeah.
He's older. And then they signed Pierce
Yep,
again.
that's who it was.
And then there was one other signing that they had, Ricard, they just re-signed. But I'm looking at, you got to look at your division.
Yeah.
And you got to be like, we got to do something different than what we normally do. We're not a destination anymore.
No.
People aren't looking at us like they want to come play for us. And you have to see that. Like, you have to change your mentality. And you're looking at, if Deshaun Watson plays every game this year, you're looking at their last place again in the division. And I don't care that
You're
they're
talking about the
running back-
Ravens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care that your running backs are coming back. I don't care that your cornerbacks are healthy. Because you want to know what happened when your cornerbacks were healthy? The Bengals still torched you for 82 points in 2 games. You know, and the Steelers still beat you. You know, and Cleveland still ran all over you. And it's like that Cleveland team, to me, is another wide receiver shy of being extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Because Cooper's not enough.
No,
You know,
and that's the way I said it. And I meant it nicely in the group message. Yeah, I wasn't even upset that Cooper left. The reason Cooper's not in Dallas is because we signed him to a stupid contract. The problem is if you can get 16 games out of him where he actually shows up, he's dangerous. But you still need another weapon.
So think about the first season in Oakland, okay, because it was Oakland at the time, not Las Vegas, and first season in Dallas.
Yep. Ridiculous.
Dirty.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get this year.
Yeah, and
That's what
then
you're going to get this year. And then
he gets lazy.
And then it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Then
But
it
you're going to get the best Amari Cooper.
Yep.
And he's got to be excited because you're going to a situation now. Like, it's not a situation where I'm going to play with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to get. Am I going to get last year's Baker Mayfield, or am I going to get 2 years ago Baker Mayfield? You know, and Baker.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Baker over Wentz?
No.
Okay, because he's. I mean, think about this. Baker Mayfield 2 years ago
Yeah, 2021.
Got the Browns to the playoffs and won a playoff game. And now he might not have a starting job in the NFL. That's, to me, right there, that's like saying Joe Burrow won a playoff game in Cincinnati after 30 years. And then the next 2 years later, isn't starting for an NFL team. Like, that's what Baker did for the Browns.
I think part of me and part of the fan base and part of NFL people in general probably look at Baker Mayfield as, excuse me, I think they look at Baker Mayfield as...
It is getting late.
I know. Ooh, 7 o'clock, right? I think they look at Baker Mayfield as Chubb and Hunt and your great defense got you there. And again, let me just say what I think people think. And when they look at the Bengals, they look at it, this team goes through Burrow. They don't look at the team going through Baker Mayfield. They look at it as Nick Foles. They look at it as he's just a place filler. So as mean as that sounds, and if you look at his stats 2 years ago in 2021, he had a great year. It was technically last year, but now we're in the offseason. It was 2 years ago. He had a great year. He had, 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But every other year, he has 20 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Yep. He's very average.
Okay.
And unfortunately, you watch a lot of their games, and I've watched 4 or 5 Browns games every year. There's a lot of situations where he puts himself into bad situations. He takes unnecessary hits. And he misses wide open wide receivers. You're like, we had Odell and he had Jarvis Landry. They're not slouches. They're both decent enough players. So my point is, would I have Carson Wentz over Baker? Sure, Carson Wentz can throw the ball if he stays healthy. Carson Wentz was almost an MVP at one point. So, again, with the Bengals, Burrow got him there. Would they let him go? No. The offense runs through Burrow. If you take Burrow out of the offense, put any other quarterback there, it doesn't run like it does through Burrow.
Okay.
But with Baker, if you take the exact same team with Odell and Jarvis Landry and put Deshaun Watson in that team, they're a 10-win team, but not with Baker. And that's just me, because when the ball's not being ran through Kareem Hunt and not being run through Chubb, people go, oh, Baker's lining up. And they cover their eyes because they just don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback. I give him hell in the group. Yes, I know. He's a very good quarterback, and he's going to make this Browns teams a lot better. He's on his way to elite, and he's not there yet. Missing 20 months is a big deal. You don't know who he is, and now he's almost 27, 28 years old. That's still in his prime, but you don't know what Deshaun Watson you're going to get. Is his mind clear? Is Amari Cooper going to show up every week? That's why I'm kind of hard sometimes on him, is I'm not hard on him for who he is or the fact that he's in Houston. He was a Dallas, you know what I mean? It's that you don't know what you're going to get out of him now being out for 2 years. We're calling him a top 5 QB in a lot of ways. He's getting paid as the number 2 QB, but he's never produced over top 5 ever in his career. So for me, the Browns are going to be that very interesting team. I think for me, the Browns are going to be very interesting. I think... the Steelers are going to be extremely interesting, seeing what Trubisky can do. I'm really intrigued to see the AFC West this year.
Nate and Logan are late.
Yeah, they're late. We said on the podcast first, bruh.
Yeah.
But
Chandler, Christian broke the news, and I said that was a great signing.
Yeah.
So
by the way,
you guys are late.
Well, you guys will hear this whenever I feel like uploading it this week. But
but that being said, next week I hope we can. Talk again.
We should have a lot more free agency done by next week.
Yep. And let's talk to Joe. See if he's, see if we can coordinate. I'll see what my days off next week are.
We'll see if we can get Joey on here. Joey is somebody I met through my church and through my discipleship program that I'm in, and he is an Eagles fan. We don't get a lot of opportunity with Eagles fans, and I drove him to our meeting, and the whole time there, he doesn't talk as much as I do. Obviously, I'm a big talker, but he was like, I'm a big Eagles fan. And I was like, we have a podcast. He's like, you have a podcast? It was like the most he raised his voice the whole night. And I was like, yeah, man. And we're hard on the Eagles. He's like, oh man, I'm from the area. I'm all the way down to the Temple Owls. And I was like, wow, this dude's Philly through and through. And he go to his Facebook page and he's got pictures, call with the, he's got, the Eagles stuff on. So he's a guy. And I was like, I really want to get his opinion, because a year ago we would have had him on and be like, yo, team is trash, man. Yep. But at the end of the day, they made the playoffs. And they didn't win, but they had a hard last 5 or 6 schedule, and they made it. Yep. And now I kind of want to know, what does he think? Is he still on the? Is he still on?
I think they did the smartest thing, not bringing in a quarterback.
I think they did too,
and keeping the draft picks and
3 first-rounders.
It all depends on what they do with these draft picks. Yep. But I'd love to get his opinion on it.
Yeah, of course.
And
I'll
everything.
talk to him.
And But other than that, I know Nate and Logan. I know Logan's chomping at the bit to come back on too, because
it's been a while.
he gets butt hurt when we always have Nate on too. So
All right. So what we need to do is whether we get Joey on the next one, we got to get Logan on.
Joey, Logan, and Nate. We'll bring them on.
I mean, we have our other friends in the group. What are they doing?
Well, see, here's the thing. Chandler would say, "Well, I'll do it," but then Chandler never answers the phone.
Yeah.
I would love to get another Dallas opinion. Justin. I would love to get Justin's opinion on anything, but he's a dad of 2.
Yeah.
It's tough to get these guys.
Tough.
Nate's wife's pregnant. Logan's got a baby. I mean, the only reason why you're able to do it once a week is because my wife and your wife are in there playing with our grandbaby.
Yeah, they're in the kitchen. I can see them in the corner of my ear.
Corner of your ear?
I don't know what it was.
All right. Well, on that note, folks, we are done for this week. Again, hit us up on Facebook if there's anything you want to talk about. The draft is coming up. Everything's good. So everybody have a good week.
Everybody have a good week.